praise the Constitution to law. And in those hearings, Republicans described weaponization as, quote, corruption.
In just a few minutes, I'll break down every word she used, the timing and the surgical precision with which she exposed Trump's weaknesses. This is a masterclass in how to bring down the former president. Before we move forward, though, I'd like to ask a small favor. If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. Over 98 of you watch without signing up. And while it costs you nothing, it truly helps us out. Have you clicked that subscribe button? Awesome, thanks so much. Now let's get back to the video. You won't believe what Jasmine Crockett just did to Trump. She landed a political knockout punch. While most politicians throw weak jabs that barely leave a mark, this wasn't just a critique, it was a masterclass in dismantling a former president.
Purging of thousands of hardworking, dedicated federal servants who swore an oath to protect the Constitution and the...
Why was Crockett's takedown so effective? Well, in politics, timing is everything. Trump was already on the defensive about his own record when she struck. Think of a boxer waiting for the perfect moment to catch their opponent off guard. That's exactly what Crockett did. She landed a haymaker Trump didn't see coming, even though he was bracing for the usual light jabs. Unlike many Democrats who tiptoe around Trump, Crockett walked straight up to him and called him what she truly believes him to be, a white supremacist and a thug. Trump, who usually has a quick rebuttal for everything, was left frozen, caught off guard by the direct accusation. There was no political doublespeak, no sidestepping the issue, just a clear, blunt attack. If you've seen Trump's usual playbook, you know how he responds to criticism: shouts fake news, cries witch hunt, or throws in some other deflection. But Crockett's approach was so direct and unexpected that his typical deflections couldn't land. She knew exactly which buttons to push to throw them off his game. What you might not know is that Crockett was perfectly suited for this confrontation due to her background as a trial lawyer. Trial lawyers are experts at cornering people who are trying to lie their way out of trouble. They ask the tough questions, reject evasive answers, and know how to make someone look guilty based on their responses. Trump was facing a professional trained to make even the most skilled liars squirm.
Let me tell y'all something. I know y'all have been frustrated, and you've been seeing the word. They use it as a war cry, a battle call, to justify dismantling federal agencies.
Crockett didn't just make vague accusations against Trump. She hit him with specific examples of his lies on key issues like immigration, national security, and Ukraine. While political criticism often feels vague, filled with general terms like bad policies or divisive rhetoric, Crockett's approach was different. She didn't simply claim Trump was dishonest. She laid out concrete examples that viewers could easily recall and verify for themselves. Her delivery was masterful. Despite the sharpness of her words, she didn't raise her voice or show any emotion. Instead, her tone remained calm, composed, and matter-of-fact, as if she were simply stating undeniable truths that everyone already knew. When an accusation is delivered with such poise and confidence, any attempt to deny it comes off as desperate. It's like someone politely pointing out you're wrong. Getting upset only makes you look worse. In a sense, Crockett set the perfect trap. The more Trump tried to defend himself, the more guilty he appeared. Denying the accusation made him look defensive, but failing to deny it risked making him seem to embrace the label. You could almost see Trump realizing in real time that there was no good way for him to respond.
Leaders, well, all right? We are here. This phrase, the weaponization of government, is something that has been overly used and repeated by my Republican colleagues.
Crockett's strategy reveals something important. Confronting Trump with anger and insults isn't the most effective approach. Instead, it's about making direct, fact-based charges that are devoid of emotion. By staying calm and composed while delivering brutally honest content, she denied Trump the chaotic emotional energy he thrives on. He feeds off the agitation and reaction of his opponents, but Crockett took that away from him entirely. This wasn't just a lucky strike, it was a calculated breakdown of Trump's entire defensive playbook. Crockett essentially laid out a roadmap for other Democrats on how to oppose Trump effectively. 1. Be specific. 2. Be straightforward. 3. Maintain composure. 4. Watch him unravel. But the real game changer came when her attack went from effective to devastating. Crockett didn't just crack Trump's defense, she shattered it when she called him a white supremacist. It was a hard blow, but when she backed it up with the staggering statistic that 80 of violent crimes come from the very groups Trump refuses to condemn, it was like a nuclear bomb detonating. That statistic hit hard, and Trump's entire defensive shell was obliterated.
About the DOJ being weaponized by the White House. I am concerned about the FBI.
When Trump's usually smug expression suddenly shifted to one of shock, it was a telling moment. His face went from confident to deer in headlights in an instant. This wasn't just another Democrat calling him Namus. This was different. Most politicians dance around the issue of racism like they're tiptoeing over hot coals. They might say Trump has problematic views on diversity or use racially charged language, relying on all those vague political euphemisms. But Crockett, she grabbed the third rail of American politics with both hands and held on tight. Not only did she call him a white supremacist outright, but she also linked that accusation directly to real-world violence. By pointing out that white supremacists are responsible for 80 of the nation's violent crimes, she made her charge not just personal, but a public safety issue that shifted the entire conversation, making it about the dangers his rhetoric poses to the country, rather than just an insult thrown his way. Trump's response, as expected, was textbook. Whenever someone accuses him of racism, his go-to move is to turn the tables and call the accuser the real racist. He might even dredge up the one black man who said at his rally that Trump had done more for black people than anyone else, maybe even more than Abraham Lincoln. It's like rewatching a bad movie, knowing exactly what's coming and still feeling a sense of inevitability about it.
Craig, Lucien, to rock, some what?
By directly calling Trump a white supremacist and immediately tying it to real harm, Crockett shut down all of his usual escape routes. Trump had nowhere to retreat to after that point. It was clear she'd carefully anticipated every one of his typical deflection strategies and had dismantled them before he even had the chance to deploy them. When Crockett compared the January 6th insurrectionists to white supremacists, she hit him where it hurt. She boldly claimed that these groups were actively destroying our democracy, drawing an unmissable line between Trump's rhetoric and the violence that followed. The January 6th connection was especially powerful. It trapped Trump in a political bind. He was now faced with an impossible choice: defend the rioters, which would make him appear to endorse insurrection, or distance himself from his most loyal supporters. Either way, he risked alienating a core part of his base, creating a political stalemate. Crockett's strategy wasn't just about making accusations, it was about setting Trump up in such a way that he had no way to wriggle out of the consequences. With poised precision and relentless focus on the facts, she managed to corner him at every turn, leaving him with no good options.
Attorney by trade. I know about the Department of Justice and what they're supposed to be doing. With the political narrative, you will be suspended without pay, have your security clearance revoked. I am also very concerned by a rogue DOJ, or one that is not beholden to the American people.
Crockett didn't just use precise language, she also employed powerful visual language that made her argument unforgettable. People don't need a political science degree to understand what it means to physically destroy our democracy. That phrase paints a vivid picture that sticks in your mind long after the interview. It's not an abstract political idea, it's a visceral, gut-punching image that anyone can grasp, making her point hit harder than mere logic ever could. What sets this confrontation apart is that Crockett wasn't trying to play the usual political game of gotcha or score points. She wasn't just offering an opinion, she was making a bold statement of observable facts that left the audience no choice but to grapple with the real-world consequences of Trump's rhetoric. She approached it like a prosecutor presenting evidence to a jury, straightforward, impactful, and irrefutable. The line "they are tearing us down right here" from within hit Trump hard, leaving him with no good response. Typically, when accused, Trump reacts with predictable outrage, deflection, and name-calling. But Crockett's strategy put him in a position where if he countered, he would have to deny being a white supremacist, coming off defensive and avoiding the actual charge. There was no winning move for him. Crockett had him cornered.
Then it is essential that we understand what exactly weaponization means. Fortunately, history is kind to us and expose the weaponization of government, specifically the weaponization of Department of Justice. And in those hearings, Republicans described weaponization as, quote, corruption, quote, government abuse.
The brilliance of Crockett's approach lay in how she framed white supremacy not as a personal belief, but as a pattern of behavior with tangible, harmful consequences. She didn't say, "I believe you're racist." Instead, she pointed directly to the actions and the harm they caused, connecting them to white supremacy. This approach was far more powerful because one argument is arbitrary and easy to dismiss, while the other demands a meaningful response. It's hard to argue with observable harm, especially when it's framed as a pattern of behavior that continues to perpetuate real-world damage. While many politicians falter when accusing Trump of dishonesty, Crockett used a masterclass in lie detection. She didn't just call them a liar in vague terms, she went straight for the heart of the issue, dissecting his alternative facts with precision. Trump often thrives in the back and forth of he said, she said debates, using evasions to avoid real accountability. But Crockett didn't get tangled in that web. She used the prosecutor's handbook, presenting her case with razor-sharp accuracy. When she said, as it relates to him being a liar, that's just the way it is, she wasn't offering an opinion, she was stating a cold, unyielding reality. Crockett made it clear the truth was non-negotiable.
They will retaliate. If you don't agree with their political agenda, you get suspended. These are the words of congressional Republicans. This is what they believe embodies weaponization.
Crockett's ability to connect Trump's distortions to real American suffering was truly brilliant. She didn't just throw abstract political theories at him, she painted a vivid picture of the real victims of Trump's disinformation campaign. Her statement, "We are continuing to peddle conspiracy theories, and as a result, people are dying and farmers are losing their farms," was a punch to the gut. This wasn't hypothetical. She was highlighting how Trump's lies were directly hurting everyday Americans. Trump's rhetoric on immigration, for example, was often dismissed as a difference of opinion. But Crockett exposed the practical consequences, like farm workers refusing to show up, proving that Trump's fearmongering had real economic consequences. Fields were left empty and crops rotted because of his lies. Crockett didn't just call Trump a liar, she used facts, not opinion, to present his deceit as an undeniable reality. She connected the dots between Ukraine immigration and January 6th, showing that they were all part of the same fabric of lies. Her ability to weave these disparate issues into one cohesive argument left Trump with nowhere to hide. But what truly set Crockett apart was her ability to shine a light on Trump's victim narrative, calling him the divider-in-chief. She exposed his hypocrisy, actively persecuting others while portraying himself as the ultimate victim. Crockett didn't just argue with Trump, she destroyed his facade of persecution, pointing out that his actions were the ones causing real harm to ordinary people. Her strategy also extended beyond Trump, criticizing the role of social media giants like Elon Musk in spreading his lies. She understood that the ecosystem sustaining his falsehoods had to be addressed, not just the man himself. It was a devastating takedown. And with a focus on clear facts, Crockett broke through Trump's psychological manipulation. Unlike most Democrats who try to engage Trump with political niceties or moral superiority, Crockett gave us a masterclass in political combat. She didn't just play the game, she flipped the board. Her approach was straightforward, real, and grounded in the experiences of average Americans. It was a stark contrast to the usual political double talk, and it's likely to become the new standard for how Democrats confront Trump moving forward. The big question now is whether other Democrats will follow her lead or continue to cower in the face of his aggression. Crockett showed them the path to victory, and it's one that doesn't involve playing nice.